Hey, Motorman here, and I happen to be at Gator Harley Davidson in Leesburg, Florida. And the reason I'm here is I'm going to be taking a Fat Boy for a test ride. This is the new Fat Boy. This particular model that I'm going to be riding, that's a 2019, but there are no changes between this and the 2020s. And they did change this quite a bit, I believe in 2018 from previous models. It's an all new frame, giant fat tire, bob fender. I'm not crazy about the bob fender. I like the more traditional style of the Fat Boy. And this particular bike has got MSRP of $20,599 for the 2020 model. This one also has some, we call them day one modifications: exhaust, air filter kit. I'm sure it's got a tune on it as well. And notice the finish here. It's sort of a satin right here. In fact, parts that used to be chrome are now that satin finish. You can see it here on the fork. New headlight, well, I don't know, I think I kind of like the older one. This motorcycle has a seat height of 25.9 inches, which is pretty low. Should fit just about any rider. In other words, you'd be able to get your feet to the ground pretty easily. They all come standard now with ABS in the security system. Wheelbase on this one is 65.6 inches. Weighs about 700 pounds. It has a lean angle of 25.6 inches. That's before the boards start to scrape. And that's a big improvement over the older models, which only had about a 24-degree lean angle. People find they may be scraping those boards in the slightest of turns. So I'm glad they really increased that quite a bit over the older models. And I'm going to take it for a ride, tell you what I think of it. My first impression on this bike is, yeah, it's loud. It's got Shorty Vents and Heinz pipes on it. Low to the ground. I'm 5'7", but no problem reaching the ground on this motorcycle. Throttle response is excellent. By the way, it's a freezing cold day here for Florida. When I say freezing cold, right now it's about 40 degrees. I left the house this morning and it was 32, maybe 33, because I didn't see any frost. So to my viewers out there, and I know a lot of you are going to say, oh yeah, well you should come to where I'm in Siberia. It's 27 below zero. Well, I'm in Florida, so it shouldn't be this cold. And this dealership is about 75 miles from my house. It was a little chilly riding up here until the heat come up on the truck. Yeah, I didn't ride up here. It's too cold for that. All right. Lots of torque in that 114 motor. And the bike sounds great. A little loud for my taste, but I know a lot of people like that. And I'm riding through a residential area, so I'm going to keep it kind of quiet, but at least there's no traffic here. I keep looking for that heel shifter. There isn't one on this bike. You've got all your instruments are on the console here, which gives you a very clean look to the handlebars, but you do have to look down. Now I've got the camera right in front of my face here too, so that prevents me from really getting a good view of it, but tachometer, speedometer is all mounted in there. Personally, I would rather have them up here, but you know, they didn't ask me. Biggest change with the new frame for the Softails, of course, is the fact that every one of them has a far superior lean angle to the last Softail models. That means you can lean it over in the corners a lot further than you could before you hear that scraping sound. The older Softail, I would have had to slow down at least another 5 or 10 miles an hour to make that turn without scraping. Being that this has a longer wheelbase than most of the Softails, it's got a pretty smooth ride. Generally, the longer the wheelbase, the smoother your ride's going to be. So for those of you who think that there's no winding roads here in Florida, well, as you can see, you're wrong. We've got a few. There's some bumps in that corner, took it just fine. And the ride is very supple. It's not bouncing me around or anything. It's not a perfect road. Of course, with no windshield, yeah, you're going to get a wind blast. And I'm sitting pretty much straight upright. Get a nice view of the lake here in Leesburg. This whole area is filled with lakes, by the way. There's some great fishing here in this part of Florida, freshwater. Plenty of power. If you want more power than this, you should probably be on a sport bike. Lots of torque as well, of course, with the 114. Even the 107's got all kinds of torque. And torque is what you feel when you accelerate. These bikes make somewhere around 83 horsepower to the rear wheel. And I think it's 107 foot-pounds of torque. Now on a cold day like this, I am wishing for a fairing or a windshield. But it's not too bad. Remember, 6 months of the year we've got 95-degree weather here in Florida. 6 months of the year. Well, look at that, some sand in the corner. It's a good thing I was looking. 6 months of the year we got really nice weather. Tomorrow it's supposed to get back into the high 60s, and then by the weekend we'll be back into 70, 72 degree weather. That's why everybody comes here in the winter time. I never knew this road was back here behind the Harley place, but it's a great place for a test ride. Seat on this motorcycle is on the firm side, but it does feel good. It's got a pillion pad too for a passenger. but that pillion pad is not built for comfort. Of course, Harley catalog, there's all kinds of accessory seats, touring seats. It's just that you're going to put your wife back there. Yeah, she's not going to be too happy for too long. I'm really surprised at how smooth the ride is on this bike. No bottoming. I'd even go as far as to say that it's a plush ride. Not quite as good as the touring bikes, Electra Glide, etc., but it's pretty good. Now it's got this huge tire in the back, which usually is a hindrance to handling. They tend to make the wider the tire in the back, the more you got to force the bike into a lean, but I don't even notice it on this bike, to be perfectly honest. Dislikes, well, I prefer the styling of the previous model, the Fat Boy. To me, that was the essence of an American motorcycle. You know, the one you saw in the Terminator movie. I like the fuller rear fender. In fact, if they just put that longer, fatter fender on the back, everything else looks just fine to me. This is a much stiffer chassis than the older Softails. You could feel that in the handling. It's got more lean angle. Just about everything about the new Softail line is an improvement over the previous models. Including, as I said, the improved lean angle, and I believe they're about 60 pounds lighter. This bike comes in right around 700 pounds. I know where I'm at now. So to sum it up, this is an American cruiser, Harley Davidson, all kinds of power and torque, a big improvement over earlier models. Better handling, more lean angle, more power. What more could you want? Now there are other Softail models. I rode the Lowrider S a couple of days ago, and I would prefer that bike over this one. As far as comfort though, riding position, for me, this actually is a little bit better. But I do like the styling of the Lowrider S better than this. Now if this was the old style Fat Boy, I would have liked that a little bit better. I like the full fat fendered look. I just wasn't crazy about the way those bikes rode. And as I said, this is a major improvement. ABS standard equipment now, and that is a lifesaver. So that's my feelings. In fact, right here, folks, here is the older style Fat Boy. Notice that, I believe that's the Fat Boy S, or no, the Fat Boy Low. I love the looks of it. I love that big fat rear fender. It just didn't ride near as nice as this one. So the 2020 Fat Boy is an improvement over the older model, except in my opinion only in the styling department. Thanks for coming along. Till next time.